Hi, everybody. Welcome to My Other's Keeper. I have the lovely and talented Echo here. Thank you for joining me today. This is wonderful.
Thank you for asking me.
Oh, I love watching your content. So I'm like, I need to talk to this lady. Just, yeah, I enjoy what you do. So, yes.
Thank you.
Um, I just want to say hi to Indigo and Crystal and Jaden. I don't know Jaden, but that's okay. They're probably one of yours. So I'm so glad to see you. Nice to see you. Okay. All right. So I'm going to ask you a question that's been burning on my mind over the last few minutes. What's with the map on your wall? Yeah. What's the
Okay,
dots?
I have a very bad problem with geography. I can't remember, where the states are. So when I'm talking to someone and they tell me that they're in Utah, for instance,
Mm,
I know it's on the southern half of the United States, somewhere over there, but I don't know exactly. So
right.
when I started teaching my granddaughter preschool, I decided, Granny needs to learn her geography, so maybe Granny should get a map. So I got the map, and then I got to thinking, I'll put a dot wherever and somebody's name in each state as they come into my live streams, and that way maybe I can try to get
Oh,
to know, where people are in the United States. I'm in the process of printing out some individual country maps so that I can put for all of the countries because I'm meeting so many people in other countries.
oh,
Um,
that's for sure.
but yeah, so like Ohio has got the most. There is the most people that I've met
Yep.
in Ohio. I'm
Yeah.
down here in the middle of the state, or towards the bottom of the state of Georgia, but in the middle, right above Florida. And I have not
There we
found
go.
anybody in my state. So I'm collecting the stickers and the dots of everybody that I meet, and eventually I will be able to figure out when somebody tells me a certain state. I can always look and be like, "Oh,
Oh,
I
there's
heard
that
that.
person
Okay,
there
I
too.
know exactly where you are now."
Great association. I love it. Hi, Daniel. Nice to see you. Misha.
Yeah,
I'm
because
assuming that's not Misha. Misha
I'm
is
terrible with.
here.
Hi, Misha Lee. Welcome, welcome. But I'm
Okay,
terrible with
and
my geography.
Blake Reed.
Terrible.
Are you familiar with who Blake Reed is?
No, not necessarily, but that doesn't mean
Okay, he's
anything.
he's somebody who would have been on one of, say, he's Balaki if you listen to Tommy or Reese. Um,
No.
anyway, if you don't, then you likely wouldn't know who they are. But yeah, Indigo says they're from Illinois. Daniel is here. I'm not sure where they're from. Um, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and a lot of people ask me what. And so, what I'm going to do is the pictures way back here. I'm going to
Yeah.
take these down, and I'm going to put the country maps up there, and that
All
way I'll be able to,
right.
you know, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Because I'm actually
Okay.
in my dining room. I live in
Oh,
an
are you?
apartment, and I have like my kitchen and dining room are connected. And I really
Mm-hmm.
didn't have any place to put my desk, and I don't need a dining room. So my
Right.
desk is actually in my dining room. So
Oh, okay. Okay. My desk is in my spare bedroom. I had set it up initially to be where I would sit and make jewelry because, like, I do my paintings, the extra paint comes off, and I make jewelry like this ring, for
oh,
example.
cool.
So then I needed a place where I could do it and just kind of leave it out, like not on the dining room table or something like that.
Hmm.
Figured that would be better than being that rude. Um, and Jimena, nice to see you here.
Yes.
Oh,
Hello.
nice. Then I started doing this, and so this just developed into my studio. It's also my spare bedroom. So uh,
Well, I don't.
when
I
I'm
don't have
pointing this direction, I'm pointing at my spare bed. but the
Okay.
world sees me pointing at you.
Yes.
So
Good. When I first started, I had my desk in the living room, up against a wall, and so behind me they could see my living room, but I have a big ceiling fan in. And I found out that some people are sensory with that
yep,
ceiling fan, and it
yep.
looked like I had like had the propeller of a helicopter sticking out of my head. And so I said,
I have a friend
I
who
can't
has.
do that. I've got to change my background, So this is where I ended up, but I didn't really do anything, change my decor any,
No,
but
it
so
looks
I need to
great.
do that.
The map there just makes it look very, like on the old newscasts, they'd have a map right
Yeah,
there. That's what that reminds me of. Like just
that's
that
what my daughter
official.
said.
This is.
She said, "Are you going to start doing weather reports? And you're going to be over here. We're having, And I
There
said,
you
"Well, I guess
go.
I could if I wanted to." Hello, Robin. Welcome. Yeah.
So
Which my
if
daughter
you
thinks
were,
it's hilarious that I'm even on YouTube.
yeah, my husband doesn't understand. He's very much a computers are for work kind of guy. He is not
My
a
creative
connection
soil.
over computer here. So we've
Well,
got
my daughter,
Mary, Creative
I was,
Soil.
yeah, that's Creative Soil. I call him Carver because his channel name used to be something Carver because he does wood carving. And
Ooh.
so I couldn't pronounce it. It's an Indian name, and I couldn't pronounce the first part of it, so I would just call him Carver. And then he changed his name to Creative Soil. So, but I still call him Carver too. But
When you
anyway,
say
I was
Indian name, do you mean indigenous or from India?
indigenous.
Okay.
Yeah. But I was 34, almost 35 when I had my daughter. So I am, I'm 20, or she's 27, going to be 28, and I'm going to be 62. So to her, I'm an old lady. Okay. So anytime I try to do anything that is not being old lady-ish, she thinks I'm hilarious. So, hey, whatever.
All right. Creative Soil, I'd love to get to know the story behind your carving. I love art type work of almost any sort. And people who carve, man, when you can look at, I'm assuming wood, and you can see a thing in that wood, that amount of creativity just blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind.
Hey, Katie.
So, yeah.
He lives in Oklahoma. He kind of lives off the grid, and he used to be in Florida, and he would do a lot of the screen. I'm not sure what it's called, like where they spray with the paint, spray on like T-shirts and license plates,
Screen
and
printing.
screen painting or airbrushing. I think it's airbrushing.
Yes,
but he would do that, and then he would do these carvings, and he's got some amazing carving things that he's made and whatever. But I met him when you still have that channel as well. Okay, Carver, go drop your link for both the channels for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, I met him, and I don't even remember how I met him, but anyway, on YouTube. And so one night I had a live stream, and I had him come up as my guest. Well, one of the people in the chat said, "What is that, your husband?" And it was so funny. He real quick said, "Oh no, we're just friends. We think totally different, And I was like, "That's right. There's no way we'd ever be a couple, but we have become such good friends." So,
and sometimes it's better to have a good friend than a romantic interest in somebody, right? I would rather have a really great male friend than have somebody have a romantic interest in me, besides my husband.
Yes. Well, but I'm not very good at the romantic my romantic history is not really great. So it's kind of like, hey, I'm a great friend, and I'd rather be friends
Yeah.
with people anyway. But yeah,
Yeah.
he is a really neat guy. He's really neat.
Oh, that's cool. I am seeing quite a few people in here who are mods, and I'm just going to advertise this here a little bit. I made
Okay.
a lovely little thing that says, let's play Whack-A-Troll. And it is a phrase. Whack-A-Troll is a phrase used by Misha of Awakened by the Looking Glass's Reflection. And so I put this together and I'm like, mods would do great with, say, a water bottle or a mouse pad or something like that with this on it. So I have it on my fourth wall shop. So if there's any mods in here who would like to see if they want to get anything with a Let's Play Whack-A-Troll on it, let me know, or just go to the website in my description down below.
That would be cute. When I do my members lives, I do giveaways, and I have actually bought my own merchandise and used it as giveaway items. But that would be cute to have to do that and to give those away. That would be cute. Let's see. Karen came in. Hello, and Jimena said that she's going through a separation right now, and that she does not want to do romantic again either, and she's going to be friends. Don't say never. You never know, what might happen. Yeah. But take time to heal, definitely.
Essential.
And there's Misha.
Hi, Misha. Nice to see you. Yeah, there's hang on. To donate help. Okay, hang on. I'll stock the little food pantry box for our homeless in my Cash App. Oh, excellent. Oh, that's a great thing to do.
There's a lot of them in the town that my daughter lives in, but I live in a real tiny little town. We have one stoplight, but believe it or not, we do have homeless people. And we also have people which I've noticed during the times that the kids are out of school, sometimes they don't have enough to eat. So I try to make sure that during those school break holidays that I always put stuff in there that the kids would like,
Oh, that's wonderful.
So I put food in that food pantry at least a couple of times a month. And there's actually now starting to be other people that are putting food in it too. At first, I was the only one. And I was like, come on, somebody, help these, folks out or whatever. And now it's starting to catch on that people are realizing what it is and that people are putting food in there. So we're doing, helping. But I put that on there, and I've actually had a couple of people donate money for me to go and buy stuff to put in there. So.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Hello, Izzy. Nice to see you.
I've got on mine posted your link at the top. So anybody that comes in on my side, pop on over to Kim's side so you can get to know her and her folks that are over there too.
We're very nice people. I don't put up with nastiness.
Yeah, I don't
the thing is, people see me, I'm very happy-go-lucky, and they think I'm going to be wonderful, and I am until you get on my bad side, in which case, no.
Yeah, no.
You're gone. So, yeah. My psychiatrist, I have a psychiatrist, actually. I share a psychiatrist with a friend of mine. But a number of years ago, she looked at me and she's like, so you don't really put up with shenanigans, do you? And I'm like, what do you mean? She said, well, no, like your kids don't get away with much. I'm like, well, my rules in my house aren't that bad. I mean, come on. She's like, well, do you let them do the do? I'm like, no. See, you don't put up with shenanigans. So I'm a non-shenaniganator. That's yeah. I was
Marie Holiday. Welcome. If you don't know Marie Holiday, you need to get to know her. She has over 340 something subscribers, 340,000 subscribers.
Dude,
her channel has just been growing exploding and growing. And she has written a
Wow.
book. She does financial advice. She basically was in the military. Last year she went to Egypt for vacation, and she's got all
Wow.
these videos, of over there where she went to the ruins and all that kind of stuff. So she's a really great channel.
That's awesome. What's her channel name? Is it just Marie Holiday?
Yep, just Marie Holiday.
Okay. Well, I'll definitely have to go check you out. And Simply Katie Walks. Hello.
Simply Katie Walks is one of my bestest YouTube friends.
The
And she
Chakota
was out
Carver.
walking. She's in Nebraska, and she was out walking in 9-degree weather the other day.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So the name you couldn't say was Chakota, I do believe.
Yes.
The Chakota Carver.
Yes. Katie,
Yeah.
I don't know why it doesn't want to let you comment. I can see your comments. Are you putting a lot of emojis? It doesn't. My Nightbot doesn't like emojis.
Oh.
Well, more than
I'm
about
not.
3 of them.
Yeah, I'm not seeing a lot of Katie's comments, only that the Nightbot doesn't want her to comment. Katie, I am so sorry to hear that. No emoji. Okay.
Do you have Nightbot on your channel?
I do not. No.
Well, Katie, they're showing up on my screen. I don't know. And I just noticed that's another thing I need to go in and fix. I changed my memberships over to now we're like caterpillars and butterflies. And so I just have the generic little star for the badge on the members. I need to go in and make those some cool little things.
Okay.
Membership.
When I was on Kim's live, it hid Mary's comments to me after they had popped up. Now, when you say Kim's live, do you mean my live or a different Kim? So, hey, Brian, nice to see you.
And hi, Moon over Miami. How are you doing? And yes, hi, Brian. And Karen said, Echo, I so enjoyed your live the other day. I think God made sure I was watching you that day.
You know, God does that.
Have. Yep.
Yep. Absolutely.
Hi, Mary from Blessed to Crochet. Welcome.
Okay, so Misha says that simulcasting is also confusing because the hosts can see, but the channels can't see each other's.
Right.
So I can't see a number that you have pointed out. And I'm not sure. Okay. Moon over Miami. There we are. Now I can see you. Hello.
Moon over Miami is another great channel. And he's very knowledgeable about YouTube. And the programs and how to do things. He's come to my rescue several times when I've been frustrated because I couldn't get something to work right.
Yep. Oh, that's awesome.
And Brian said for us to see everybody, we have to channel hop. Yes.
I wish there was a way when we didn't have to do that. That would be really a nice feature to have somehow.
But as far as I'm concerned, y'all can all go over and be on Kim's side. That will help give her more hours too. And her link is posted there at the top of my chat. So y'all just
follow the sound of my sultry voice.
Yes, just pop over to Kim's side. I did that today on my live with Elisa. We do trivia, and we've been co-streaming it to her channel. But then it just dawned on me that people need to go in her chat so that she gets more watch hour that way. So I'm going to try to remember to do that when I go live with somebody else that I tell everybody go over to their channel and be on there so that it gives the other person the watch hours or more
Okay.
watch hours.
Well, that's lovely. Thank you so much. I'm
'Cause
going to
that's
watch
one of my
TV and hey, they both have Mishas. Yep.
Hi, the source.
Well,
welcome. But I'm
one's
trying for
Misha
20.
and one's Misha. Like Misha.
Yes. And they call each
Gun,
other
Michigan.
twins. They're like, hi, my twin. For the longest time, I thought they were the
There
same
you
person.
go.
I had to
Oh,
ask,
yeah.
you know, because
Yeah.
I was talking to one and I'm like, I've talked to the other one. I'm like, am I talking to the same person or is it two different people?
Okay. The source, nice to see you. Aloha.
But for 2025, I am trying to help smaller YouTube channels grow. So
Thank you.
that
I
is
really appreciate
one
that.
of my goals for this year. So
I appreciate the help because frankly, I need all I can get. There's no way I can do any of this alone by any stretch.
and that's why I was so glad the other day on your live when you said, I'm going to say this out loud. I want to get monetized. And I was like, yes, we can definitely help her do that.
Woohoo!
Definitely. Yeah. Because believe me, I would never have gotten monetized if I didn't have a lot of people helping me. So
for sure. Yeah. I'm at 240 or 242, something like that, subs. And I'm at almost 3,000 watch hours. I'm like 2,450 or something like that watch hours. So I need more watch hours, but I also need a lot more subs.
More subs, yes. So you need to work. We need to work on getting you more subs, so you can do the 500 subs and the 3,000 watch hour monetization. Get that started first, and then to get the rest of the watch hours is not that hard.
Right. So, Carver, are we allowed to know what your first name is? My language is a little rough sometimes. It took me, when I was young, I was a hairdresser. And hairdressers speak fluent trucker with a pirate accent. So, frankly, foul language was my second language. And it took years to get that out of my brain as my primary go-to for language. Now, keeping that in mind, I've been a good little Christian girl most of my life. But just the habit, it was a terrible habit. And so
a lot of people
Chakota Carver,
who know me personally think I'm that good little Christian girl and that I would never swear at all. And I don't in my daily life. But as my daughter will tell you, if something really happens and I get really pushed to the limit, I will swear. And when I do, you need to call the police because there's no telling what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So see, I don't try to do it, on purpose.
Yeah. Well, no, if I hurt myself, like if I like am hammering and I hammer my thumb or, I fall down or something like that, I have no problem with just creative but not dirty language. Mm-hmm. But if I'm angry, I turn a little blue, and I don't mean like a moderator. Right. That's when it gets me. So yeah. No, I totally get it.
Okay, the source, have a good day. And we will see you in a couple weeks. He's going to be my guest on a Saturday night.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've been threatening to talk to you about your life and this unfortunate thing that happened to be your divorce. So the people here probably know a lot more about you than I do. So I'm going to get you to fill me in. Okay. So what year did you get married?
I got married when I was 23 in 1986. Mm-hmm. And I only knew my husband for 6 months to the day that we got married.
Dude.
we lived in Indiana, and we were both tired of the cold weather, and we wanted to move south. And I said, I'm not moving out of state with you unless we're married. And so we hurried up and we got married before we moved we ended up here in South Georgia, but his sister lived in Orlando, Florida. So if we didn't like it here in South Georgia, eventually we were going to go to Orlando. But now 30 plus years later, I'm still here in South Georgia. So
Yeah.
But
Okay.
when we got here, I didn't know a soul but my new husband.
That's rough. Like, did your new husband, did he aim to isolate you, or did it just happen to be that's how life took it?
No, no. Um, that was just the way it worked out. He was raised by some pretty old-fashioned parents, and he did not want his wife to work. And of course, I was a
Oh.
working person when I met him. But being that I had worked since I was a teenager, the idea of being able to stay home and not work sounded good to me. And also, I wanted to have kids right away. And so I was
Mm.
going to be, a housewife and a mother. And I was all for
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm. I
until
was
I
too
got,
until I
yeah,
had the kids. Yeah.
well, but I didn't have a kid right away. And so I got
Right. Yes.
lonely very fast. And so
Mm.
his reasoning and his thing to make me not be unhappy at home by myself was to buy me a puppy, which I was a big animal lover and still am. And so I had a
Mm-hmm.
puppy as my fur baby for several years before I ever had my daughter. But
Okay.
eventually I decided, I was never going to get to know the town or the people or anything until I got a job.
Listen, I
And
don't
so
know.
he finally did let me get a job. So,
Okay. See, yeah, I worked the early part of my marriage. Well, when he and I started dating, I was starting hair school. So he knew that I wanted a career, which is no problem. But we had both decided that once we had children, then I would quit working and stay at home and be a mom, like, because that's what his mom did. And it made sense to me. My mom always worked, and I kind of missed having her around when I was a kid. And so it made sense. And then I had kids, and I'm like, I am not a good mommy when I don't have adult contact. So we ended up getting a sitter, and I worked part time. And so, yeah, that was kind of how in our house, that's how we worked it. So, how long were you married before you had children?
we had her in September, the year we were married for 10 years. And then we got married in that November. So it was almost 11 years. So 10
Wow.
years 10 years and a couple months of trying before we conceived and then had her. So we had her in September. In November we were married 11 years, and that following January I turned 35. So
Oh,
my
my
plan was to
word.
get married by the time I was 25, have two kids by the time I was 35. So I got married before I was 25, but I only had the one child by the time I was 35. So my plan
There you
didn't work.
go.
It didn't work out.
God laughs at us when we make plans.
Exactly.
He's just like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah, that's what you think. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. No, for us, we were married for, well, first of all, we started dating when I was 18, and I had already been engaged to a guy. So it was very much, I was impatient because I figured I was already halfway there before my husband and I started dating.
Hmm.
I figured if I didn't have at least one or two children by the time I was 22, 23, I'd be too old, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping to be married by the time I was 20 and then, go from there. Well, that didn't happen. We got married when I was 23, and I had my first daughter when I was 27, my second when I was 28.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that was after a short period, a more protracted period of infertility. So going on medications is how we started out. So yeah.
Well, before we got married, I was raised Lutheran, and I wanted to
Mhm.
be married in my church that I grew up in. And so one of
Mhm.
the things with Lutherans, you have to go to premarital counseling before
Mhm.
they will marry you in the church. And so we
Yep.
went to our premarital counseling, and they have you fill out a questionnaire, and you each fill out your questionnaire, and then the pastor, looks at the answers, and then you discuss any areas that he feels you're incompatible on, or things that might be
Ah.
an issue, that you might need to discuss. And so
Okay.
the only thing that we were incompatible on, or different opinions, were when to have children. My ex-husband, he wanted to wait at least 2 years after we got married, for financial reasons.
Yeah.
I was saying, as soon as I'm married, I'm ready, to have a baby. So
Yep.
the minister said, well, this might be a little bit of an issue, because he wants to wait 2 years. You want to do it immediately. Who's going to win out here, And I said,
Neither of
well,
you.
yeah, no, neither of us. And I said, well,
Yeah.
I understand his point, but I also understand my point, that I don't know how soon or if I'll even conceive. So I don't want to be, waiting forever. So my ex-husband, he finally conceded and said, okay, we will start trying. We won't prevent it. And if it happens, it happens. But we didn't do any extraordinary measures to try to make it happen. But we were not going
Mhm.
to be preventing it. So I thought for sure, within the first year I would have a baby, get pregnant at least. But
Yeah.
no, did not.
Yeah.
Hello, married in Arkansas. Welcome.
Hello. And
Yeah.
Lindsay's here as well.
Oh, hello,
Um,
hello.
Now we're going to talk on a different evening about the infertility journey. So we're not going to get terribly into that.
Yeah.
But knowing that you were on different pages for that, how did that work in the rest of your marriage? Like, how is
Well,
it?
I think being that we did have the infertility, it was okay with my ex that, we didn't have a baby right away. It was not okay with me. Um,
Right.
I definitely, was never going to be preventing the pregnancy. I wanted,
Hmm.
no matter what, I was going to have a baby. So I think that he saw my frustration in
Hmm.
not being able to have the baby, right away. And the one thing is that I didn't want to play God. I didn't want to take
Right.
fertility drugs. They kept saying, well, we don't see anything that might cause it. We could do testing, we could do this, we could do that. And I kept saying, no, my faith is strong enough that when God wants me to have a baby, I'm going to have a baby, and I didn't want to me, it was kind of like not trusting God that he was going to give me
Mm-hmm.
my baby if I did all these things. However, knowing what I know now, you know how they say God will hit you in the head with a pebble, and that it'll be a bigger stone, and eventually it'll be a big boulder to get your
I've
attention.
not heard that, but I believe
You've
it
not
fully.
heard it? Okay. It's like when the man is in the water, in the flood, okay, and he's
Somebody
drowning
sent
and
a
everything, and he's
canoe.
like, Lord, help me,
Yep.
you need to help me, and at the end of the story is, I sent you the man in the rowboat, you wouldn't go with him. I sent Noah built the ark, I sent the ark, you wouldn't go. What did I need to hit you in the head with for you to realize I was there all the time? I was sending you my help, but you wouldn't take it. Okay. And so
Yep.
that's my analogy for how I was. I kept going to doctors, I kept being offered things, and I kept saying no.
Yep.
So I think the
Yeah.
10 years was, a lot of it had to do with me not doing what I needed to do to be in the right place at the right time to have it to happen.
Yes, I will agree to probably 85% of that.
Yeah.
And the little bit that I would push back on is that God needed you to be in a certain place to be the type of mom you are.
Yes.
And in order to do that, you had to go through the heartache of infertility. So once you had your daughter, it's a daughter, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Once you had your daughter, how old was she when your husband left?
She was 17.
She was 17. Was she just finishing high school?
He had 1 year. He left in March, and that following fall, she started her senior year. Yeah.
There are names coming to my mind, and none of them are polite. Yeah.
It's been 10 years. That was in 2015. So it's in March, it'll be 10 years. And I had some pretty choice words for him too back
I
then.
can imagine.
But now I've realized that, first of all, life is way too short to be unhappy. So
Yes.
his whole thing was that he was unhappy in the marriage, and that's why he ended it. So I would want him to be happy. So if he couldn't be happy in our situation, I'm glad he did make that choice and went on to become happy. Did it make me happy? No. It was not something I wanted ever to have happen. And I will always love him. He was my best friend for all those years and the father of my child. And no matter what he would or has done, he is still a very important person in my life. And that's just how I live my life. I was not happy with him at the, time. I did not understand. I felt like I was completely blindsided by it, that I didn't do anything to deserve that or anything. But, the older I get and the more I can look back at things, that I realize that a relationship doesn't happen one-sidedly. It
Not
takes
at all.
two people. And even though I don't think I ever did anything, one, incident where he would say, okay, that's it. That's why I left. No. But did I have my own responsibilities in that relationship falling apart? Yes, because I did not communicate well enough with him for him to be able to tell me how unhappy he was and for us to be able to work it out if we could have worked it out. And I think that's what hurt me the most, is that he didn't even give me a chance. He didn't even share with me what he was going through or what he was feeling, for me even to see if there was anything I could have done differently, And I think that's what hurt the most. I felt like I deserved to know what was going on and to have a chance, to do something differently.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, communication is 100% key. While you were married, how long were you married?
We were married like 29 and a half years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we were together for 30 because we were together for 6 months before we got married.
Yeah. Right. That extra 6 months makes it. My husband and I, we've been married for 29 years and we've been together for 34. So we dated for 5 years before we got married.
Which is something I suggest people do, is date a long period of time. Don't meet them, date them, marry them within 6 months. It's a disaster waiting to happen.
No. Yeah. And I have 2 daughters who have seen in their friend groups people who have met and then decided to get married right away. And then they're like, okay, but look at mom and dad. They met, they were together for a long time. And look, they're still friends. That made a huge difference for us. So when you guys were married, like you said, it was basically, lust and burn or get married. And what sort of, sorry, did that play at all any part in how your relationship built? Like, was it Did you guys ever have a friendship, or was it all romance right from the beginning?
Well, I mean, we definitely had a friendship. Um, and it was not, I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't necessarily just lust. It was, we were both in a place in our lives where we thought we could make it together better than individually.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I do think that there the biggest basis of the relationship was the friendship. He was older than I was,
Okay.
and he's 8 years older than I am. And I was a very sheltered child. I was very naive. I did not know a lot about um, life in general. And I think that he
You
kind
mean like
of took me
intimacy,
under his
etc.?
wing. Pardon me?
You mean like intimacy?
No, no, no. I mean, like,
Oh, just okay.
I was sheltered from drug use. I was sheltered from domestic violence. I just didn't really know even though I was 23 years old, I
Right.
did not really know about how people can treat people and
So,
um, how things can go, downhill really fast with people and things. And he always told me I was very naive because I trusted people and I thought the best in people. And he would kind of be like, no, 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 don't do that.
yeah.
But we
Yeah.
definitely,
So,
during those 10 years that we had, and we always kind of thought about that too, that maybe that was the reason that we had to wait the 10 years was because we
yeah.
had to have cemented our marriage and our relationship in order to become the best parents that we could be. So,
Mm-hmm.
hi, Lucy. Hi, UK Medic. Welcome. I really think that um, you never really can really get to know someone. I think you know someone, but you
Mm-hmm.
only can get to know the parts of them that they let you see and let you know about. And
This
so
woman is wise.
I think that my husband had things about himself that I didn't know anything about. I think he had struggles with some
Mm-hmm.
things that I knew nothing about. And
Yeah.
I took everything he told me at face value. I believed him. I trusted him.
Yeah.
I was the wife that I never picked up his phone. I never looked at his phone. I never looked in his computer. It was funny. He taught himself how to do computers, and then I had went to the tech school and learned how to do computers. And never, we both had our own computer, and never would I go into his computer and never would he have gotten into my computer. So actually, when the whole thing started, the divorce started, unraveling, a lot of my friends were like, you should have been looking in his phone. You should have been looking in his computer. You should have done that. I had no reason to. I was
Yeah.
totally committed and loved him,
And you
and I
thought he
was
was
not
too.
going to have infidelity, so I didn't think he was either. So I never did. I never knew his passwords to anything,
Oh, Brazy
and
girl. Our topic is how Echo's marriage took a very unfortunate and sudden turn.
yeah.
And yeah, that's what we're talking about. And I like what Indigo says here. How you communicate is important. If you have different styles, you have to find a compromise. But at the same time, if you don't communicate, how do you know if you have different styles, right? And
Well,
if somebody is not getting what they need, if you're not telling your partner that you're not getting what you need, it's nobody's fault but your own.
right. And my husband's philosophy in our marriage, in the beginning at least, was whatever I wanted, the answer was yes. So it didn't matter, you know, it wasn't like I had to ask his permission or, talk to him about every little decision that I made. And then on the big decisions, we did always talk about them and we always kind of came to a consensus on what we should do. But his
Mhm.
idea was, as long as I keep her happy and I let her get her way, then we're not going to fuss and argue, which is true. We never fought. We never argued. And funny story, one time we had went out to dinner and he was going to go to the restroom and he said, if they come to get the order, and if they have corn, I would like corn for my vegetable. And I was
Mhm.
like, okay, that's unusual, but okay. And I got to thinking while he was in the restroom that, I hardly ever made him corn because I don't particularly care for corn. And he had
Oh.
never said, I would like to have corn sometime. And every week when I would do my grocery list and everything, I would say, is there anything, you would like me to make? Is there anything special you want? Anything like that? Nope, whatever you get's fine. And so I always planned all the meals and never thought to make corn. So when he came back to the table, I said, let me ask you that question. You like corn? You like corn that much that you would order it out in a restaurant? And he was like, well, yeah, but we just never have it at home. So I thought I would get it since we were out. And I said, but why don't we ever have it at home? And he said, well, I don't know. You must not like it because you never buy it or make it. And I said, all you had to say was, buy me some corn, woman. And
Yeah.
so then it started me thinking, what other things in my life that I thought was all peachy and roses isn't? Because he wouldn't even tell me that he wanted a certain kind of vegetable.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
now that I can look back, at the relationship, there were plenty of red flags. There were plenty of things that um, I should have picked up on, but I didn't because they weren't in my face kind of things. They were
Mm.
in the background, very, like, for instance, he had hurt his back at work, and he didn't want to have surgery. And
Mm.
eventually he let Workman's Comp close out his case and he got a settlement from Workman's Comp. Well, he didn't put the money in our bank account. He opened a new bank account just for him and put the money in that bank account. And when it
Hmm.
came time to buy my daughter a car when she was 16 to get her first car, he used that money to get the car for her. Now, I never questioned, why did he put it in a separate account? To me, it was his money. He could do what he
Mhm.
wanted with it.
Mhm.
But I guess in his mind, he knew he wanted to get my daughter the car. And so by him doing that, he knew that money wouldn't go towards bills or get spent if he put it in a separate account. Well, see,
Well,
now
that
I look
logic
at that.
works.
Yeah, but I mean, I look at it now and think, well, you can look at it that it was a very thoughtful thing he was trying to do for his daughter, or you can look at it that he didn't trust that I wouldn't spend that money,
Yeah.
depending upon how you look at things.
There's two sides to that coin, right?
Yes, yes. And since the divorce, there have been so many things that I've thought about and thought to myself, gosh, if he had just told me that, you know, it wouldn't have been
Mhm.
an issue at all. But he I
Mhm.
guess he had in his mind what he thought he was supposed to do as the husband and what I
Mhm.
expected him to do. And when it didn't work out in his own personal life how he wanted things to be, he just wasn't happy. He wasn't happy with his job. He wasn't happy at where he was at in his job. Um, there were a lot of career changes over the throughout the marriage. And I think he thought that we'd be more financially stable than we were. I mean, we
Mhm.
both worked. There was plenty of times I worked two jobs at a time. But with the way the economy was, I mean, we rented, we
Yeah.
never bought a home. We, I mean, we had two vehicles. We always had plenty of food and clothes and, those kind of things. But we didn't have a big nest egg. We didn't own a home. And I think he got to a certain age in his life, and most men have a midlife crisis much younger than he did. But I think he just
Mm.
started examining his life and kind of said, well, gee, I'm not, where I thought I would be. And and I'm just not, feeling like I'm doing what I need to do, and I'm just not happy, and maybe I need to do something else. But he would have never left had he not met the lady that he met, who had her own house, and he could go there directly from my house to her house. And she also had a better paying job to where he wouldn't have to work, and so he could not work and take care of his bad back and not have a child to take care of. And he definitely chose a different lifestyle than
Did he
finishing
ever?
raising our daughter and then deciding this. And that was my thing too. You couldn't have waited another year until she finished high school. And she had plans to go to college, right out of high school. And I just felt like if he was going to, he either should have done it much younger or at least waited until she was well on her way to
Yeah.
being grown.
Yeah.
But the main thing that he did wrong is that he did not have contact with my daughter for about 3 years. Because,
Okay.
and
That was the question that Crystal was asking here.
yes,
Yeah.
he
Sorry.
how do I put it? We knew physically where he was,
Mm-hmm.
but he blocked her on everything, changed his phone number. She didn't have a
Wow.
way to contact him other than writing letters, because we did have a mailing address. She did write him several letters. And this was her during this time period. The last phone call they had when she was 17, she had just met her boyfriend and she was going out on
Mm-hmm.
her very first date ever.
Oh.
And she had called him to let him know, this great thing that's happening in her life. She was all excited. Do you know that man cut her phone off and changed his phone number and blocked her the very next day? Never even asked her, how did your first date go? What's the guy like? Who is this guy? Nothing. So
Kind of a selfish
she,
SOB.
yeah, and abandoned. She felt so abandoned. Now,
Completely.
when he left, she was there with me. We discovered together that he was gone. I did never spoke a bad word or an ill word about him to her. I let her vent how she was feeling about the situation. And she said to him and said to me that, it doesn't matter to her if we're together or not. We're her parents.
Yeah.
And him leaving me should not have meant him leaving her, which
Exactly.
I agree with 100%.
Yep.
So, and we're talking about a kid who got straight A's, who was actually taking her last year of high school at the community college, getting college credit for her college career that was coming up. Okay.
Awesome.
And this was her first boyfriend, first time dating. So she was a good kid. She never gave us any problems. I wouldn't
Wow.
let her get a part-time job because I wanted her to have time to do her studies and to have extracurricular things going on at school. And I knew if she
Mm-hmm.
had a job, that would interfere. So he
Mm-hmm.
bought her the car, and I worked at Walmart, and you could have your check put on a credit card, or you could have it put on, into a deposit in your bank, and they called them
Mm-hmm.
a pay card. And so I got the
Mm-hmm.
pay card. I had part of it deposited into my checking account, and I had the other money go on my pay card. And that was her money. And that was for her to buy her
Mm-hmm.
gas, buy her school supplies, for her to learn how to budget money, for her to, if she wanted to go out and have a hamburger, she paid for it out of that money, and we
Mm-hmm.
got paid every 2 weeks. And so it was our running
Mm-hmm.
joke. She would say, "We get paid this week, right?" And it's like, "Yes, we do." So, the first couple of times she blew the money right
Yeah.
away and then had to
Yeah.
go the rest of the 2 weeks. But she learned how to budget it and make it, work. But I was trying to set her up for success of becoming a young adult because I didn't even know
Mm-hmm.
how to write a check when I,
Mm-hmm.
became 18. I didn't know. There were so many things my parents sheltered me from, and didn't think I needed to know, that I was in a big hurry to try to teach her all these things, so that by the time she was 18, she'd be able to handle her life, you know.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but anytime, anyway, so during this time period that he was not in her life, her and her boyfriend continued to date. They got engaged. She was going to be getting married. She very much wanted to have a church wedding and have him walk her down the aisle. The only
Mm-hmm.
way we had to communicate with him was through a letter. So she wrote him several letters over the time period, but definitely a letter saying, I want to set a wedding date. I need to know, when are you available, to make this plan. Never responded, nothing. Our actual divorce hearing, I had a preliminary hearing, and then I had the final hearing. He did not come to either one. Because he did not come, the I had a lawyer, and the judge granted me everything my lawyer asked for, because on the simple fact that he was not there to defend himself, to say
Yeah.
whether or not what I was saying was the truth or not.
Yeah. It was no
Um,
contest.
yeah, but
Yeah.
so, and actually, we had to get the lawyer to contact the judge to get me back on the docket to be able to get the divorce finalized, because normally after you have your preliminary, you don't get on the docket for the final until they respond, and you now have an answer from both sides, and then you will be on there for the final hearing. So he didn't respond, so we had to wait a year, and then we had to, go back to court. So um, the last thing he said to me was, because I told him, I need you to still be her dad, and her life should not have to change. So of course I wanted money. I wanted him to continue to support her. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and if he didn't want to go through with having to pay child support and all of that, I said, okay, get money out of your 401k. Just give me a lump sum. I'll make
Mm-hmm.
sure, that I take care of it and all that. And the last thing I said to him was, just make sure you don't let that child down. Oh, you don't have to worry about that. I'm her dad and I love her, and you don't have to worry about that. Within 2 weeks after I got the money, he cut everything off and blocked us, to where she had no way to, contact him. And she was devastated. I mean, she was upset by the divorce, but she also was realistic enough to know that I would be able to pick up the pieces and go on. And those things happen. And
Right.
it shouldn't have affected her life that drastically, she thought. But she had
Oh,
no
yeah,
idea,
no.
that it was going to be like it was.
Abandonment, like the emotions of, like, this is your dad,
Yeah.
the person you looked up to, your first love as a little girl,
Yes.
right? Like, this is,
And all her life,
oh,
we had always told her how much we wanted her and how hard we tried, and how she was a gift from
yes.
God, that we even got her, and everything. And so it just totally it was horrible. It was hard. That was harder for me to dealing with her and her emotions than it was actually for me to deal with it myself.
For
And so
sure.
after like 3 years, and she went ahead and ended up getting married at the courthouse. They put it off for a year, trying to get in touch with him to be able to do it, and then decided that they would just go ahead and go to the courthouse, because they wanted to be married. And she even talked to me about that before they got married. She said, I know, since your marriage ended so badly, that, you're anti marriage. And I said, oh, no, I'm not anti marriage at all. I definitely believe in marriage and want you, if you want that for your life, I want you to get married. What I'm against is not having my own credit, not having things in my own
Mm-hmm.
name, not being
Mm-hmm.
independent and having my own money. Had I decided to be the one that left, all these
Mhm.
things that, I was living the fairy tale. I thought I met Prince
Mhm.
Charming and I had this fairy tale life. And then all of a sudden one day I woke up and I didn't anymore. So I told her, I said, if you want to marry him, you have your education, you get your career, you make sure you
Yeah,
have your own vehicle, you have your own bank account. He can have his own bank account. You can have a joint bank account that you pay the bills with, but you have your own money. And if you have children, you know that one day you might be taking care of that child by yourself. So
that's
you
right.
arrange your life in a way that
Mhm.
you'll be able to be a single parent and still be okay. Nothing
Right.
against my son in law, but I had the same conversation with my son in law. You know,
Mhm.
you need to have your own job, you need to have your own money. You don't want to have to ask your wife, can you get a hamburger? You
Yeah.
want to have that, money of your own. And yes, they work a budget beautifully and they both pay bills and it works out fine for them. But they also have the money that they can buy each other a gift for a birthday or a Christmas. And he can buy something for his
Mhm.
daughter when he wants to without saying, gee, can we afford this or whatever? He knows they can afford it because the bills have been paid and they each still have
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
So, those kind of things. And he came to me and asked me if he could marry her. They're very,
Mhm.
for being as young as they are, they're very old fashioned in a lot of things. And
Oh yeah.
so um, I was all for the marriage. But I told my daughter, if there ever comes a time that you want out of it, you let me know and I will help you
Mhm.
through that, you know.
Yeah.
But communicate with your husband. Make sure he is your best friend. Don't set yourself
That's
up
it.
to have a failure and don't go into it. If you think I'm going to go into this marriage and if it doesn't work out, I'll just get divorced, then don't do it. You have to
That's
go
right.
into it that this is for life. I'm making this commitment to my spouse that I'm going into this,
Mhm.
for life. And
Mhm.
it's so funny because my daughter, she's just the kind of person that she has done everything the right way. Everything that she's had to face in her life, she has handled it with grace and just as smoothly, as she could. So when she decided that she was done with her dad not being a part of her life, and she said, I'm going to go and find him and confront him. And now this was
Oh.
3 years. So she was 20. She was already married and in college. And she said, I want to go. And I said, well, we know what state he's in. We know the mailing address. We can try to go there. Well, she paid for one of those apps that gives you like background information on people, like if you're
Mm.
trying to do a
Mhm.
background check on somebody. She paid for
Mhm.
one of those and she got a phone number for him. And so
Okay.
she called the phone number. Of course, he didn't know her phone number, you know, because we ended up having to get new phones too when he cut us off the phone plan. So we had
Yeah.
new numbers. But anyway, so she started texting with him, and he acted like they had never had that period of time between them that they didn't talk. He acted like everything was just normal.
So you knew
And
the state he was living in, and it happened to be called Delusion, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So she decided, well, he's talking to me on the phone. I'm going there and I'm going to confront him. And I'm going to say, you either straighten up and be my dad and be in my life, or I never want to see you again. You know?
You go, girl.
Yeah. And she actually had a conversation with one of my best friends. And my best friend actually came to me and said, you know, Allison wants to go and confront her dad. She said,
Mhm.
and I think you should take her to do that. But if you don't
Mm.
want to take her, I will take her. But somebody is
Mhm.
going to go with her because it's out of state. Nobody, wanted her, even though she was 20, we didn't want her
Right.
driving. And of course, her
Yeah.
husband said he would go, but he, wasn't any better, for that part of it.
Yeah.
And so I said, yes, I will definitely take her. So we went,
Yeah.
we got a hotel, we went to his house. His vehicle was sitting there. He would not answer the door. However, we found out after when he finally called her, when she was texting him, telling him, I'm at your house, answered the door, that he was actually out of town at the time. And so she
Oh.
said, well, that's fine. I've got a few days. I'll wait. When are you coming home? And he said, we were there we went up on a Friday night. So this was a Saturday morning. He said, I'm not
Mhm.
coming home till Tuesday. She said, that's fine. I can miss class. I'll be here on Tuesday when you get here. And then she said, well, if you're out of town visiting, relatives or whatever, just tell me where you're at and I'll come to you. We've already driven this
Perfect.
far, I'll come to you. Well, he said, no, I'll come home. I'll be there. I'll be there by tonight. And so he had to tell his wife that his daughter, that he had not been in contact with for 3 years, was there at their house and he needed to go and talk to her. And so she said, most definitely, get in the car, let's go. And it was her family that they were visiting. And so they
Oh.
came back. He texted her, said, let's meet at such and such a restaurant. So I said, okay, I'm going to take you to the restaurant and make sure you're with them, but I'm not going to sit with you at the table. I
Mhm.
don't want to see him or her. I don't want to
Oh,
have
yeah.
any contact with them, but I'm here for you
Sure.
to support you. So I will be on the other side of the restaurant. So when the waiter went to seat us, I said, and then it's a table of three, and then I'll need a table over here. And his wife turned around and she said, no, you're going to eat with us. And I said, no, I'm not. This is not about me. This is about Allison. And I'll be right over there if she needs her mama. And so I sat there and I could hear every word they said, but I didn't have to look them in the face. And my daughter was very gracious and never once um, really even confronted him. She just said, Daddy, I miss you. I want you to be a part of my life. I got married without you, and I want you to meet my husband, and I want you to be the grandpa to my babies, and all of that. And now his new wife, she thought, because she said when they got together, that he had better take care of his daughter. And she always wanted to meet my daughter, and she thought it was my daughter not wanting to meet her, which there was never an invitation to meet her.
Mm.
And so, and she's a lovely lady, and she never had any children of her own. And so this has now given her a daughter and a granddaughter and the chance to be Nana. So
Oh,
she was all
exactly.
for them being part of her life.
So
So it
what
was
did she
really
say about
unfortunate.
your husband's actions toward his daughter when he left? Like, did she
Well,
not know anything about that while
she
they were dating or whatever?
no, no. Prior to, and see, he actually told her that he and I were already separated and just living in the same house for financial reasons,
Of
and
course.
that I was okay with him having a girlfriend and going off and leaving me, which I had no clue. I didn't know anything
Convenient.
about that. Um,
Yeah.
so she was blindsided as well, and he lied to her as well. And so it wasn't until my daughter found out she was expecting, and I knew then that she was going to want him to be grandpa, and I wanted him to do it too.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to somehow communicate with his wife and let her know, I'm going to be open in this relationship. If you're willing, we can try to make a go of things. And so I was planning the baby shower. And so I reached out to her on Facebook, and she, accepted. And I texted on Messenger and I said, I'm planning this baby shower. It's going to be such and such and such. If you want to be involved, let me know. Let me know what you want to, be involved with or whatever, and we'll do this thing. We'll have a baby shower. And she was
Mm-hmm.
so taken back by the fact that, being that I wouldn't even speak to them, you know, that I would even offer that, you know. But like I
Mhm.
told her, growing up, I didn't have grandparents. My daughter didn't really have grandparents. I want this baby to have grandparents. So if that means I have to get in a relationship with the two of them to make this happen, I will do that. And so they came to the baby shower. They actually, her sister in law came as well. She made the flower arrangements, cutest little ceramic white elephants with flowers in them. She made a big, huge silk flower arrangement because she's a registered nurse, but she's also a flower designer. She does weddings.
Nice. Oh,
So,
wow.
being that she missed the wedding because she would have done the flowers for the wedding had
I can
my ex
imagine.
let her be involved, okay? Um, she did went all out on these flower, things for the baby shower. And she came and made a bunch of food. And I mean, we just had the best time. And
Mhm.
when it came time for the baby to be here, we were going to all be at the hospital with my daughter and,
Okay.
take turns being able to go in there and get that baby. But
Yeah.
it was during an outbreak of the Big C, and the
Mm.
my daughter's doctor was actually the head of the OB department, and he
Mhm.
said, "Lock it down. One person can come, but once they come, they stay the whole time. They don't get to
Yep.
leave, and if they leave, they
Yep.
don't get to come back." And so my son-in-law was, he was willing for us all to be there, but he wanted to be there too. So I had to say, "Look,
Yeah.
you're the daddy, you go. I'll be on the phone." Yeah. Well, for some reason, their internet at the hospital and phone service was very spotty. And I only
Mm.
got a few pictures and a few short little texts here and there. So I really didn't have a lot of communication while they were at the hospital. But
Mhm.
Nana, who they were coming out from out of state to be here in the emergency or in the hospital, she stayed on the phone with me and we talked. And she is a labor and delivery room nurse. And we talked the entire time waiting for them to have that baby. And
Wow.
it was the most comforting thing somebody could have ever done for me, just to be there and keep me company. Which now, after we started talking about the baby shower, we started communicating a lot, with details of the baby shower and everything. And one night she says, "I want to ask you a question. It's a personal question. You don't have to answer me, but I really kind of want to know." And so I said, "Sure, but if you ask me a question, then I get to ask you a question." She said,
Fair.
"Okay, all right." So she asks me her question, and I said, "I'm not going to lie to you. I will tell you anything you want to know, but I'm not going to lie to you. And I definitely don't want you to lie to me." So we started comparing notes and we started talking back and forth. And
Mm.
that's when I found out she was totally blindsided as well. She knew nothing. She thought it was over and done between us years ago. She did not know that, it wasn't. And so
Oh,
I had
man.
never held it against her because she didn't do anything to me. It could have been anybody that he went to. Um, but I felt sorry for her that she kind of got into a
Oh, yeah.
relationship with him not knowing quite all the facts and not
Yeah.
knowing everything about him. And it changed the way she felt about him. Now,
Gee,
she
yeah.
still loves him, and we have both decided that we both love him. You know, I mean, I would never begrudge him anything. And I want him in my daughter's life. So he is very much a part of my life. But do I want to be his wife again? Never. No, siree. But I'm not the same person I was when I was married to him. I have
Right.
learned and I have grown a lot. And so that she doesn't have to worry about that. I can be around him all the time and I would never want that, you know.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
now she and I have developed such a friendship that there's no way I would do that to my friend. And when we go
Yeah.
there, because we share holidays, they either come here or we go there. They don't miss a thing.
How does he feel about having you and your daughter back in his life, not under his control?
It's at first he was walking on eggshells because he didn't know what we were going to say, being that she did not confront him at the restaurant, right. And being that I was willing to have them involved with the baby, he did not know what to expect. He didn't know what I was going to say, and he did not know what Nana and I had talked about.
Yeah.
Or the relationship that Nana and I were building. And it was really quite comical to see him, because he was kind of like a cat in a room full of rocking chairs. Like he was afraid he was fixing to get his tail caught, you know? And it was kind of comical for me and Nana because we knew what we knew. And we knew he didn't know what we knew about each other. So it was really, really comical for a long time. But eventually I had a conversation. My daughter and Nana very sneakily left us home alone one day. And I didn't realize it until they were gone that, wait a minute, they can't both go. You know, one of them has to be here with me. And they weren't. And so I said, okay, this is your opportunity to say what you want to say. Get it out, clear the air, whatever. And I told them, I said, I only have one question. And that is, are you happy? Because if you can honestly tell me that you are happy, then I'm happy for you. And I can let this go, you know. But if you tell me you're not happy and you destroyed my family for selfish reasons and you're not happy, then I'm going to be mad, you know. And he said, well, we're working on it. He said, I'm not as happy as I thought I would be. And, you know, there are issues, but I'm working on it. And I said, well, you know what? She deserves you to be happy because you did this. Not only did you disrupt our life, you disrupted her life. And now, you know, and I said, you will be her father. And when she needs and wants her father, you will be there. I don't care how far away you are, you will be there. And you will be there for this baby. And you know what? Him and the baby have the best relationship. She calls him on the phone and video chats with him. And it is all about my grandpa. Now, she likes Nana, but Nana's not the favorite, at least not right now. Grandpa is the favorite. And it's she knows every holiday and every birthday she's going to see Grandpa and Nana. She doesn't know if they'll be at her house or at their house. But she's 3, so she understands if we're going to Grandpa's, we got to get in the car and go a long way, you know, to get there. And when they come here, normally they will stay at a hotel, and she gets to go and stay with them at the hotel. So she loves that. But we all get the best of our daughter and our granddaughter. And
you are a kinder woman than I am.
You know,
man, that would not have been my one question.
Yeah. I do, you know, like I said, I've changed a lot. I mean, I am not that person that I was in that relationship. Did I deserve what happened? No. You know, but, you know, we all have things happen to us we don't deserve. But, you know, you have to be able to, you know, go on with your life. And, you know, I've had other things happen in my life that I didn't deserve, that have affected me, that I've handled in different situations that haven't turned out as positive as this one has. But I give all the credit to God because I'm not that smart. I'm not smart enough to have figured out that we could work this out and that we could make this blended family. Oh, and the bonus that I've got to tell you about, Nana has like 5 brothers and sisters who all have spouses, who all have children, who all have grandchildren. Her dad is still living, Papa, 80 something ish. And so he's got this, my granddaughter is his great granddaughter. When she goes, she has to take pictures for Papa's refrigerator. She has to give Papa coloring drawings, that she does, which we send those to them in the mail.
Mm-hmm.
They always, her and her sister, there's 3 brothers and 2 sisters. The 2 sisters do Sunday dinner at Papa's house every Sunday. So when my daughter is there, that's just, you go to Papa's house and all the family that can go there for, dinner. So she's gotten to know, my daughter, being an only child, has gotten to know all of these people. Her daughter has gotten to know all of these people. She actually has, Nana has a nephew that has a little boy that is 6 months younger than my granddaughter. And so at Thanksgiving, they were there, and the 2 kids got out there in the yard and they played. They were holding hands, walking around. It was the cutest thing ever. So my daughter has a big extended family, and they have all told me and my daughter that we are welcome at any family functions. We even went to a family reunion with her. And we've gone to a wedding. She also can officiate a wedding. We also went to a family wedding with them one time.
Wow.
So I have made a huge bunch of friends, and they have all accepted. Nobody knows the story but her sister. Her sister knows everything. But everybody else just assumes that we broke up when Allison was little, They don't know that it was right when he met her. But anyway,
right.
It's none of their business. It's really nobody's business.
No, right.
And if we choose to get along and be a blended family, well, that's our business too,
Absolutely.
And we kind of wondered how we would explain to our granddaughter that Granny and Grandpa are Mommy's parents. And then you got Nana that is married to Grandpa, But, she really doesn't seem to make that association yet. She did, because my daughter will say, she'll say, that's my granny. And my daughter will say, but she was my mama first. And my granddaughter will say, no, that's my granny. That's not your mama, And so one day my daughter said, and Grandpa, that Grandpa you love so much, he's my daddy. He was mine first too, She's like, no. That's my granny and my grandpa. That's not yours, So she's not old enough yet to understand that. But eventually she'll know,
Give her at least 2 more years. Like when she's about 5, maybe as late as 6, that stuff, she'll have friends who will have grandmas and grandpas.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
and I don't think she will care one bit, because we have all been there since she was born. And
it's been 100% love for her.
Right. And so she's not going to know anything about it. Now, when she's older, if she wants to know, and I'm sure when her mother explains to her about how to go about being married and having a relationship, it may come up then, but it won't be detrimental to her, because all she knows is that we all love her. And then when she's old enough to realize what we've all gone through, to be able to love her and give her that life, I don't think it's going to make any difference.
No, I agree. Yeah. On today's devotion, we were talking about how Jacob was such an idiot. He fought with his brother. He didn't steal. He tricked him out of the birthright. He did steal the blessing from Isaac, and then suddenly he has to fight with somebody and then get hit in the hip. And like, God does all of this stuff. So my takeaway from that was, this really superhuman, fallible person did all of this stuff, and God flipped it on its head and said, here's the gift. And that's kind of what has happened in your case, where humans just human themselves, and God just goes, here you go.
And this is why I say, I don't care how bad your life is. I don't care what circumstances you have to go through. There is a silver lining in every situation. There is good and positive things that will come to your life that would not have happened if that negative situation hadn't happened. So, so many people get angry at God when bad things happen to them.
Oh yeah.
All the bad
Oh yeah.
things that happen to us, with the exception of a few, are
Mm-hmm.
because of our choices and because of
Yeah.
things that we did or didn't do in our life. God
Mm-hmm.
doesn't set out and say, "Oh, I'm striking this one with cancer today." Boom, you know,
Yeah.
or whatever. Um, and when you need God the most is when you're going through those trials and those tough times. And,
Mm-hmm.
the question is always, God, why? Why me? Why did this have to happen to me? Well, why not you? I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Mm-hmm.
why not? Look at all the
That's right.
things you did in your life that led up to it. Why not have it happen? Now, I'm not talking about things that happen to children. They don't have any control over that and they're totally innocent. But I'm talking about things like this, like the divorce. That, if I hadn't chose to marry him, I wouldn't have been able to go through a divorce. You
And you
know,
wouldn't have your daughter or
and I
granddaughter
wouldn't have my
or
daughter. And, I mean, there's just
yeah.
so many things that I can look back on it and say, because in my mind, I had a perfectly happy marriage. I had a happy family. I thoroughly enjoyed my life the way my life was. I wouldn't have changed it. Had I had the opportunity to change it, I wouldn't have changed it. Would I have
Yeah.
changed what happened now, after that? Yes, I might have changed that. But all the blessings that God has given us because we're in this situation,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't change that, you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of my
Absolutely.
friends have met Nana. And matter of fact, they came to my daughter's college graduation and her open house. And
Okay.
leading up to that, uh, my son-in-law said, "Ma, if it gets too bad, I'm going to step between you. I'm not going to let anything happen to you, and I'll step between you."
Oh,
And
what a sweetheart.
I said, "Do you honestly think, I would punch him or something?" And he said, "No, no, no, no. I don't know. But all
No.
I'm saying is, if it's too much, I'm going to be there and I'm going to have your back." And my close
Good
girlfriends
boy.
that were going to be there all said, "If you need to leave or you need to step aside or what." And I said, "No, I'm ready for them to come." I have never really talked to her or him since
Mm-hmm.
all this happened, but it's my daughter's college graduation. She wants them to be a part of it. So
Right.
they're coming. So it was a very tense situation, but I did nothing but be genuine and welcoming to her. And we sat and we talked, and all
Mm-hmm.
of my friends were like, "Why did he leave you for her?" I mean, they just could not understand it. And I said, "But don't you see, she is, I mean, God put her in his life because he couldn't go it alone. He needed her. He would have never
Mm-hmm.
left our situation if he couldn't go right to her situation, you know."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "No, I mean, it is what had to happen. I mean, it's just the way things had to go." And it was
Mm-hmm.
it was wonderful. But anyway, after now we're all friends and everything's great. We're going to go to Atlanta Braves baseball game. Both my
Mm.
ex-husband and I love the Atlanta Braves. And that is one thing that we've always done is gone to games. And so he says, "I want to take everybody and let's go to a game. We'll get a hotel room in Atlanta. We'll spend the night. We'll go to the game, blah, blah, blah." So I was like, "Okay, great, fine. We'll go." My son-in-law could care less about baseball. Okay. But he said, "I'm going. It's a family thing. I'll be there." So when we get to the stadium, um, my ex and my daughter are up in front. I'm pushing the baby in the stroller. And then
Mm-hmm.
Nana is coming behind me. And then my son in law is bringing up the rear.
Mm.
Well, we kind of ended up getting a little bit more space between us and a lot of crowding, people as we're
Oh.
walking. My son-in-law stayed right there with Nana the entire time, right behind her, like, "I've got your back, lady. Nothing's going to happen to you." And that in itself is one of the kindest things somebody could have done for anybody, but it made
Mm-hmm.
such an impression on her that he has accepted her, into our lives, and that he'll have her back, no matter what. So that's the kind of person my son-in-law is. He doesn't say a whole lot. He's very introverted, but when it matters for him to step up, he steps up.
Is he an engineer?
No, he's not an engineer. No.
Okay.
He should be designing video games, is what he should be doing.
Ooh.
Yes, he is highly intelligent, and just, I mean, you can just see the gears moving in his head. It's just like, he is just really, really a smart guy, and very, he had a very terrible childhood. Lost his mom when he was 5. His dad was in and out of his life. He got shifted around from family member to family member. Eventually got with his dad and his stepmom. Then they kicked him out. He went to live with his older brother. He was homeless for a period of time. He's had a hard life. And he appreciates the life that he has now, that him and my daughter have built together. So
that's wonderful. He sounds like an extraordinary young man,
yes,
and for part of the lesson of your failed or your broken marriage would be for your daughter to say, okay, I'm not going to let this happen in my life. We are going to communicate. We are going to have each other's backs. We are going to so on and so forth, right? And in that way, that could have made her marriage that much stronger.
Well, and for instance, I had my Achilles tendon torn in half and had to have surgery. And I couldn't work. And I didn't know, if I would get disability or not. And I didn't know if I could go back to work or not. And we were trying to let it heal without surgery, and it healed too long and made me drag my foot. So I had to have the surgery. But anyway, as soon as I told my daughter and she told my son-in-law what was going on, he said, just tell your mom, they had an apartment, I had an apartment. He said, we'll get a bigger apartment together, and we'll help her out with the bills until she figures this all out. And so we did. And one day he and I were both in the kitchen, and I said, I want to thank you, because a lot of newly married people would have said, the last thing I want is my mother-in-law to come and live with me, And he said, but Mom, you're family, and you've always treated me like family, that I'm family. And so I know you would do it for me. And so I'm going to do it for you. And I was just like, man, what a gem. I
want him to marry my daughter.
Yeah. And let me tell you this now. I said that this was her first boyfriend. She was his first girlfriend. He was so down on himself that he didn't think anybody would ever love him. And after what she had been through with her dad and the divorce and everything, she didn't think she'd ever find anybody, to really love her either. And so when they met and got together, and she went to school with his stepsister. And then they were introduced by another mutual friend. And when they actually started talking and finding out different things, that they were interested in, and they share a lot of similar interests and things. And, but they made this emotional connection where it was like two souls that needed somebody, And, so when she told me, I'd met someone and I'm going on my first date and I want you to meet him and, all this and everything, I was like, well, tell me about him. And she starts telling me about him. And I was like, okay, you're 17, you're not getting married anytime soon. You're not having a baby this young, we got to put the brakes on this thing, because I could tell, she was smitten.
Oh yeah.
So,
he was a smitten kitten, that one.
Yeah. So when I met him, I was like, you sound like a nice guy. She thinks highly of you. I'm not ready to be a grandma. She's not getting married. And he's 3 years older than her. And so he had his own place. He had his own job. And all I could think of is she's ditching me and going to go live with him and drop out of, not go to college. And, I was scared to death.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, whoa, 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 nobody's talking marriage. This is our first date, And I said, yeah, I know, but y'all have been talking and I know what's going to happen. And I'm telling you right now, she's only 17. She's got to finish high school and she wants to go to college. And he said, well, I want her to go to college.
Well, how old was he?
He was 20.
Oh,
because he's 3 years older than her. Yeah. And
3 years isn't bad.
No, not bad. And I said, but you have to look at it. She's still a child going to high school. You are a grown man with your own job and your own place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he said, well, I promise you, ma'am. And I was like, do not call me ma'am. I am mama, but I'm telling you,
I would have accepted ma'am.
And I said, you know the history, the divorce I've gone through and everything. Do not do this and mess up my relationship with my daughter. Now, I'm going to support you 100% in your relationship with my daughter. But there are lines you are not going to cross, with us. And he was like, oh, I wouldn't think to do that, And I'm like, well, you better not. And I'll be watching you. I said, I'm watching you, I said, I'm going to give you a fair shake and I hope y'all work out, but I'm going to be there for my daughter and I'm going to take care of whatever needs to be taken care of. I think I scared him to death because I think he didn't really think, that meeting the mother was going to be as difficult as I made it, And so after the date was over and the next day she talked to him and I said, well, am I, still in his life or is he kicking me to the curb? And she was like, he loves you. He thinks you are wonderful, And I'm like, really? Because I tried to scare him so bad, She was like, you didn't scare him, mama. You just let him know you love me, and that you're not going to let nothing bad happen to me. But everything was good. And I was happy for them, but it wasn't until the first time that something emotional happened. And like I said, I was watching him, and every time something would come up, and I would see how he reacted to it, and I would see what he did, and then I would be like, okay, that you did the right thing, you made the right choice. I'm proud of that, But the first time there was something emotional that happened, that my daughter got upset, and he and I were both there. Instead of her coming to me for comfort, he immediately put his arms out and she went to him. And that sealed the deal for me, that I was like, they have made that emotional connection and they are together, And after that, I was like, I'm game for whatever y'all decide you want to do. So when he came, he calls me up and he says, while Allison's at work, I need you to come over. And of course I'm thinking, oh my God, you're leaving her. Don't leave her, And I'm like, what do you mean? Okay, I'll be there, And so I go over and I'm like, you got me really worried now. What's going on? And he's like, well, we need to have a conversation. And it's a very serious conversation. And I have to do this without Allison being here. And I'm like, oh no, And he says, I want to marry your daughter. And I've known since we had been together, and when they had been together about 6 months, he told his stepmother and his stepsister and everything, I'm marrying her. And he said, and I know this is what I want to do, and I want to marry her, but I need your permission and your blessing. And I was like, thank God, because I thought you were fixing to tell me that you were leaving, breaking up with her, He's like, no, I would never, And I was like, yes, you have my permission and you have my blessing. And I am so proud of the young man that you are, Yeah. And it's almost like my daughter has taught him what love is and how to love. And he even told me one time that my daughter is the only person that he's ever known that he can trust, that has never done him wrong or never told him something and didn't follow through with it. Even his own parents and his own um, siblings, have done
Yeah.
things, but
Oh yeah.
my daughter never has. And I said, she never will, because she loves you. And it doesn't matter what you look like, what you do for a living. Doesn't None of that matters to her. Just like it doesn't
Hmm.
matter to you what she looks like or what she does. You're
Hmm.
there to support her emotionally, and she's there to support you. And that's
Hmm.
you can't ask for more than that, Which
Yeah.
he's a cute little fellow. I'm not saying he's not cute. And he's made a beautiful granddaughter for me. So, and I thank him about
Nice.
that all the time, that, I know if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have this little girl. So I know,
That's right.
I need to be appreciative of my granddaughter, and that being her daddy. Um, but a lot of people in society wouldn't have thought their relationship would work, or that they would have stayed together. Um,
Why
he
is
is
that?
he is African American,
Hmm.
and I have always been a very open minded person. I don't make judgments on people for any reason. And so I
Hmm.
raised my daughter that people
Hmm.
are people. And even
Hmm.
in us living in the South, there is a huge African American population. And I've had best friends that were African American. My daughter grew up, one of her best friends growing up was.
Hmm.
And so it was not surprising to me that she wanted to date him. And I don't see a difference. I mean, when I look at him, I see
Yeah.
someone I love. I don't look at anything else. Um, my granddaughter is gorgeous, and my daughter's had to learn how to do her hair, and
Yeah,
things
that's a
like
rough
that
one.
that we know
Yep.
nothing about. And I made sure that I let my son-in-law know that her African American culture will be very important to her, and that I want
Hmm.
him to make sure that he, brings that to the table, that we are in
Hmm.
no way raising her to be a white child. I mean, she is
Hmm.
a beautiful blended little girl, and that's what
Hmm.
she's going to know. And we want her to
Hmm.
um, have as much of that culture in her life as she wants. And
She's a
she
lovely
can
cappuccino.
Yeah, she can have as much anything, any kind of culture, she wants to be.
Yep.
They love BTS, which is a Korean K-pop
Yes.
band, and
Yep.
my son-in-law actually is very big in Japanese culture. My daughter
Really?
prefers Korean culture, but so they have the Asian influences there.
Yep.
And then I like France a lot.
Ooh.
And so
Yep.
her name is Anais, which is actually a French name, and they gave her the French pronunciation. So, like, she has a picture of the Eiffel Tower was in her baby nursery. And
Aw.
I was so pleased that they were like, and yes, you can put an Eiffel Tower in there. I was like, yes, yes, yes. So she knows about, French culture. She knows about the Korean and the Japanese, the African American and the American. So she is going to be a global baby. She is going to
That
know
is fabulous.
all about
That's
everything. And
fantastic.
they both of them love music, very musical people. So I'm sure she will be musical, at least exposed to the music of it.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
both avid readers as well. And they both believe in education,
Hmm.
and just they don't it's like he doesn't fit the mold of the typical African American person. And he has said that to me before, that he feels
Mm.
more comfortable in our family than he does in his own culture, because he is intelligent and he believes in getting a job and supporting and paying your way, and that kind of thing. And so many of the African American people, and for good reason, feel like they're not equal with us or other people, and have had struggles with things, and so
They've been they've been downtrodden for so long that
right,
culturally
right,
it's like
and in their mind,
an
whether
ancestral abuse kind of thing.
And whether it be true or not, we did not live then. We do not have anything
Right.
to do with that. Our ancestors may have, but it's still like some people want to take it out on people today, what happened all
Yeah.
those years ago. And you can't do that,
No.
But
No.
it makes a difference if you are open to the relationship. Now, if I shunned him because he was Black, or didn't accept my granddaughter because she's mixed or something like that,
Yeah.
then I could see him
Yeah.
having an issue with it. But we get more compliments when we are out with the grandbaby of how beautiful she is, how beautiful her hair is, from older African American ladies who obviously
Mhm.
know she's mixed,
Mhm.
so we've never felt like she's not going to be accepted in their culture as well, growing up.
That's
Um,
wonderful.
Now, I've had people think that she was Hispanic, and
Okay.
when she was little and just learning how to talk, sometimes she would be on the channel with me, and she would be over here jibber jabbering. And I've had people ask me before, what language does she speak? Because they thought that
Great.
she was speaking a foreign language because she was jibber jabbering, And I'm like, oh, she speaks English. You can't
Yep.
understand it, but she does speak English,
Yeah. She
But
speaks
yeah,
infant.
she's not from a foreign country. But anyway, this is
Mhm.
the three of us. If I can make it be on there.
There you are. Okay. Oh, wow. She is beautiful.
And she
Oh,
is
my
the
word.
sweetest, kindest, um, always wants to share with you. A very compassionate little girl. Just the
Wow.
best. Best. I couldn't ask for a better son-in-law or
Wow.
granddaughter. I really couldn't have.
That's awesome.
So
Well, we're going to stop it here only because I want to talk to you on other ones about stuff. And if we keep
I
talking,
know
we'll
I
talk
have
about it
so
all
much.
night.
I have so many traumatic experiences.
And I want to talk them all through. No, but honestly, you have such a beautiful attitude and view, and just this whole presence about your life that, like you said, without God, it wouldn't have worked, right?
Right.
So I am so grateful that you have the Holy Spirit in you, and that the Spirit has been able to open you up to all of these good, bad, and ugly things that, just have ended up making you amazing. So thank you so much, Echo.
Oh, you are so welcome.
So
And
glad
it's
you're
one thing
here.
I know about being on YouTube, that a lot of people say don't talk about religion. You know,
Mm,
I'm
yeah.
not going to have an argument with somebody if they have different beliefs than I have.
Hmm.
Um, I would love to talk to them and try to
Hmm.
help them understand my
Hmm.
beliefs, but I would never have an argument or say, no, you're wrong, you can't believe that or whatever. But
Right.
I did, when I first started my channel, I didn't talk a whole lot about my faith, because I had been cautioned not to. And
Mm.
then I had a friend who was in the hospital alone,
Hmm. Hmm.
didn't know, what the outcome was going to be. And it was late in the evening. And I said, God, she's in another state. I can't physically be there. All I can
Yeah.
do is pray for her. And it
Yeah.
came to my mind, go live, do a live prayer stream for your friend and pray for her. And as people come in, get them to pray for her. And so that's what I did. And I was on for 6 hours. Well,
Hmm.
she got better and she's fine now. But it was
Hmm.
my first real experience on YouTube saying that I'm a Christian, that I believe that prayer works. And so from that, then I would do little devotionals here and there, just a little bit,
Hmm.
and then
Hmm.
I would catch myself in my chats. Sometimes I'd be doing a live about something else and somebody would say something and I would be like, okay, changing the conversation, boom, let me talk to this person, and I would start
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about whatever. And so then I decided, you know what? I don't care. If people on YouTube can't handle it, they can't handle it. And if people want to
Yeah.
come in and challenge me, I know how to use the block. So I'll do that.
Well,
And so
I
then
have
I
no problem
started,
with being challenged as long as they're going to be respectful and allow me to respectfully reply.
right. And so then I started doing a lot more devotionals. And then I started doing
Mhm.
the prayer uh, posts. Whenever anybody in my chat would say, "Oh, I'm not feeling good today," oh, you better bet there'd be a community post popping up. Let's pray
There
for
you go.
everybody who's not feeling it today. And I usually ask, can I put your channel, give you a shout out
Mm,
within the prayer request? And I never say anybody necessarily, like I might say somebody's grandmother or child or something, but I won't give names. And I never give any specifics as to what's wrong. I always say, God, you know the need. You know what
mhm.
we're here praying for, or whatever.
Yeah.
But I get so many people that don't take me serious, that they don't think that I'm going to do that. And then when the prayer post is posted, then they're, contacting me saying, I can't believe you did that for me, and it's like, why would I not do it for you? I will pray for anybody, anytime, anywhere. I don't care. I would. So
That's
after I
fantastic.
started doing that, then it was like, you know what? I'm going to do my series of reading this book that I've been doing on Sundays now,
The Max
um,
Lucado.
because I love Mexico. I go
I
to
know. Right?
Goodwill specifically
Mm,
to look for his books. So I said, you know what? That it's time for me to do this, and I'm going to do it. And I
mhm,
don't care if anybody likes it or doesn't like it, or nobody comes, or if they do come, or they watch it on the
mhm.
replay or whatever. I don't care. I'm doing it because I want to do it, and I'm going to
Yeah.
do it. And so I started
Yeah.
doing that. And now it's like, I feel like, well, my faith, it's out there now. It's like everybody knows if they come to my channel, you're probably going to hear a little bit about God. You might not hear
Yeah.
a whole lot, but
Yeah.
if I'm
There'll be
moved,
something.
if I'm moved to talk to you about God, I'm going to talk to you about God. So when you
That's
first
right.
called me and you said, you know, what's your situation as far as that goes, I was like, well, I'm definitely Christian. I definitely
Yeah.
know that. I don't
Yeah.
like organized religion as far as a pastor or a minister feeling like they can tell people what to do. Yes, you bring us the word and you relate it to us how Jesus wants us to live today, but
Mhm.
you're not the one telling us what to do. It doesn't matter
Right.
what you say. You are a human just like we are, and that makes you a sinner as much as we are, you know. And I can talk to God myself. I don't have to have somebody talk to God on my behalf. So don't go there with me. And like I told you, I can't quote scripture. I can tell you bits and pieces of scripture that I like, and if I got right down to it and had to, I probably could quote some scripture, but I can tell you about God. I can tell you about what I believe about God. Where to find
Take
it
a
in the
look.
Bible? There you go.
Take a look for this book. It
Yeah.
is amazing because there's so many questions that people will have, and so many of us don't have the Bible verse or the context or whatever to talk about it. But like it just needs to be. Yeah, it is our real lives, and it's today's real life. It's not 50 years ago, 100 years ago real life, right? Again, we're going to get off on a different tangent. We'll do this another stream too.
Okay, so
Oh,
let's
I
talk
love you,
about
Echo.
you. Let's talk about you. When are you going to come on my channel?
Whenever you like. I am busy every afternoon at 2 p.m. doing my own devotionals, Central Standard Time, and Tuesday and Thursday evening from 6 p.m. until whenever we finish. Other than that, I am basically free as a bird.
Okay. Well, we will
So,
get together and we will figure it out, because
absolutely.
I'm also doing a series called Let's Talk About It, and I am having other YouTubers come on and talk about whatever they want to talk about. Now, I had my
Wonderful.
first one last Saturday night, and
Oh.
the gentleman and I spoke before we went live and kind of talked about, possible topics that we might talk about.
Mm-hmm.
However, his mother has been suffering with Alzheimer's. And
Mm.
I have several people that come in my channel that either
Mm-hmm.
have a parent or a spouse going through that. I also have a
Mm-hmm.
couple that have traumatic brain injuries and a couple that
Mm-hmm.
have dementia. So we talk about
Mm-hmm.
that a lot on my channel as far as, how the brain can kind of betray you and things. And
Mm-hmm.
so when he mentioned that the reason he started his YouTube channel was because he went with his mom to Social Security and he wanted to be able to help take care of that for her. And so he wanted
Right.
to record the interview so that he would have a record of it and they
Oh.
wouldn't let him record it. And so he said, well,
No.
yeah. And he said, this is not right. People should have a right
No.
to do that. And so he started his channel looking at how so many things you're not allowed to do. Like we don't have freedom of speech and, freedom of the press and all that like we think we do. When you really get down to it, certain things you're not allowed to do. But anyway, and so when he said, because I was trying to help my mom with Alzheimer's, and then I asked him, well, how is she doing and everything, and went off talking about the Alzheimer's thing. We had to come back, talk a little bit about his channel, and then we were done. But he had asked me, how long will we be on for? And I said, well, I try to do at least an hour, but
Yeah.
I play off of my chat. If
Mm-hmm.
people are listening and people are commenting and we're having a good conversation, I'm not going to say, oh, time's up, we got to go. So we ended up being on there for 2.5
Exactly.
hours. And he was like,
Yeah.
you told me that it might be long. And I said, well, when we're having a good conversation, I don't want it to end if I feel like it's something people need to hear about and we can share that, with them. And Mary's been on my channel. I think Mary and I did 3 hours. Um, I had I've had several people who I thought we were going to have a conversation about a certain thing, and we ended up having a very
Completely.
good, interesting conversation, but nothing like we had planned. And that's why I told the guy
Yeah.
for Saturday night, I said, I don't really ever plan when I do a live. I mean, I very rarely, if I really have something I want to say, I'll do it as a video. But
Right.
I very rarely, when I do a live, have a whole lot, planned because I don't know who's going to come in. I don't know what's going to be going on with people. I don't really know, what the situation will be. And I might be on
Right.
for 30 minutes. I might be on for 3 hours, just like the
Yeah.
night with the village for Christmas Eve. I was supposed to do
Absolutely.
an hour. And Misha said,
Yeah.
the person behind you's got an issue. Do you think you could go ahead and do that extra hour so we get the
Yeah.
48 hours? And I was like,
Yeah.
I can do 2 hours standing on my head. Yes,
Yeah.
we'll do 2 hours.
See,
I
I
had,
have to talk to people. I'm not a me in front of the camera comfortable person, but I can communicate with whoever, right?
well, and I was very
So,
shocked because I had people come up and I hadn't even had a guest like that through just a chat. And
mhm.
I don't know how long, because most of the time it's pre-planned that somebody's going to come on. And so
Mhm.
I was like tickled to death. And we had the best time and we had the best conversation. And it was like, before we knew it, it was 5 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like,
Wow.
you know, as long as y'all are in here talking to me, I'm going to stay, because they kept saying, you got to be tired. You got to want to get off. And I'm like, I'm here,
Nah,
whatever we
that's
got to
right.
do. And then Misha was like, I can't believe you were on that long. And I'm like, it wasn't because of me. That's what God wanted to have happen. He wanted me to meet those people and those people to come in and whatever. And so that's what we did. But even that,
So,
how I met with Misha, and she asked me to join the village, you know,
yeah.
totally out of the blue one day in the chat. Hey, you know what? you ought to think about joining the village. And I'm like, what is it?
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah,
and she started telling me about it, and she said, I'll email you some information. And I was like, okay, I'll do it, you know. And
that's
it's
right.
been the best thing. It honestly has been the best thing meeting everybody that I've met through the village.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is just down to earth and genuine and caring and accepting. And it's been wonderful for me personally. You know, I don't know how other people are finding it, you know, but for me, it's been wonderful. Best decision I ever made. And I take those as God moments when something totally you're not expecting it. It comes, you're like, you better check into that. I think God sent her in there to ask you that question. You better, you know, do
Yeah.
what you're supposed to do and find out what, you know, is going on. But I'm
Yeah.
really, really excited about my granddaughter going to school and me having more time to do YouTube more. And I'm going to be volunteering. I have to figure out what it is I want to do volunteer wise, but I'm excited. 2025 is going to be a great year.
A
I'm
good
really
year. Yeah.
looking
I
forward
just
to it.
have this feeling it's going to be a good year. Yeah.
I do too.
Well, my friend, thank you so much for this conversation. I've loved every moment of it. It's been 2 hours and it feels like it's been half. So,
Yeah.
I mean, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for
Thank you
having me.
to everybody who came tonight. Um, if you like what you hear, if you enjoy Echo, if you love living your best life at 60 or at 50 something or at 40
At
something
any
or at
age, at any age,
whatever, like, share, subscribe. I would
definitely.
love to see you all again. I will talk to you tomorrow. And are you familiar with the Dinah incident in the book of Genesis?
I can't say that I am.
Okay, you're going to want to tune in tomorrow afternoon,
I will definitely
2
try to.
p.m. Central Standard Time, and we
And
will
is
talk
Central
about what
Standard
happened.
Time, is that an hour behind me or an hour ahead of me? I think you're an hour ahead of me.
We
Because like
are, it is
tonight, it was
currently
6 o'clock
8:04 p.m. It's 8:04 right now, and you are at 9:04.
at 9:04. So you're an hour behind me. So if you go
Okay,
at 2, it'll be 3 my time. Okay.
correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. All
I
right.
will
So
do
you
my
want to
best.
find out about what happened to Dinah and the incident around that? Show up tomorrow. I'll talk to
Sounds
y'all
good.
later.
All right.
See ya.
Bye bye.